Hey, we're going to give everybody just a moment or two to kind of come in, and then of course I know that many of you have let me know that you pick up on this recording later during the day, and this is one of the main things where I'm putting it inside the group in the video is so that you have access to it at a time that it is convenient for you. But first, welcome to all of you. It's the first time with the 11-day meditational challenge. I'm quite sure and hoping very much that you all have an experience that is different and better than our first round. We had a great time during the first 11-day meditational challenge, but it did come with its own challenges built in. Some technical difficulties and things like that we worked through. But I'm in hopes that this is going to work out much smoother and better for all of us through the process. While I'm thinking about it, tomorrow morning I'll be making this recording at 6 a.m. Due to my work schedule and personal schedule. Tomorrow morning it's going to be a lot more convenient for me to come in at 6. So if you want to join me, it'll be tomorrow at 6. Most of these days I'm going to shoot for 7, and if there's going to be any variation to it, I'll let you know. So let's begin with the 11-day meditational challenge, part 2. This is October 1st, 2016. So if y'all catch this video in the future, this is the timeline that we're working in. The meditational challenge is one that I just kind of thought about having in regards to providing a free framework for folks who are either interested in reviving a meditational program or starting one. Meditation is one of those things that I've kind of found out through the course of time that can be a tricky subject. It's almost, I don't want to say it's quite as volatile as like maybe talking about sex or politics or religion, but it can certainly get there with some folks pretty fast. And that's really surprised me. Now, granted, I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, and meditation wasn't even a word I knew existed, even though till much later I had learned some things, and when I approached different figures of authority, I was a little bit reprimanded about investigating a meditative approach about things. But as kind of today, the theme for the first day of the 11-day meditational challenge is give thoughts room. It's basically trying to open up our minds a little bit. But with that being said, meditation, the purpose of this program is to help us start the program. If you look through both most neurosciences and most of the things that you'll see in human behavior, if we're trying to change something about ourselves, it takes some time for that to happen. The more complex the change, the longer that habit has to occur consistently. And that's an important component of it. Because some people say, well, if you do something 100 times, then it gets ingrained. And that's not true. Because you could do something 100 times and it's spread out over the course of 5 years and it'll barely make a splash. If you do something 100 days in a row, however, the consistency inside of that time frame can make a difference. So it's not just the volume of work that you do, it's how you go about that work. So the 11-day meditational challenge, starting a meditational program can actually begin in about 11 days to 2 weeks, much like if you start something simple like going for a walk. That's not overly complicated. Put on your shoes, go for a walk. You can almost start a program and get pretty good with it within a 2-week time frame if you're consistent. So the 11-day meditational challenge purpose is to just support, encourage, and motivate meditational and mind-body work in any of our lives. Let's see, I got my notes right down here, so let's see. Oh, defining meditation. Unfortunately, in today's kind of marketplace, for lack of a better words, you'll typically see the words mindfulness used synonymously with meditation. And that is short-sighted to say the least. It might represent about a third, if even that much, of how much you can get into as far as a good meditational program. Because mindfulness is just a kind of like an awareness. It's a good stepping stone, but it's also got its it has its abilities and then also its weaknesses. Concentrative type of work, internally and externally, are also part of the program. So developing a well-rounded sense of attention is a good part of a meditational program. Being aware of yourself. We were always kind of taught in our meditational program is you have to kind of learn to be your own psychologist. Learn to be the prosecutor and the defender of all things through your program. That's not easy. And there's a lot of layers you have to go through just to get to that point. Being able to contemplate, consider possibilities is another aspect of your meditational program. So I'm not going to get into all those different levels, but basically letting you know, as far as what we're working on here at this level, meditation is just basically our ability to calm our minds and to put ourselves in a place to where we can do three main things. Get ourselves grounded, basically settle down. I hear a lot of people, I feel so fragmented, or I feel like I'm all over the place. These are cliche types of expressions that let me know that they're not grounded. I'm lost is another. I can't seem to find my way. This is where we basically the second part of this is to try to help us get centered. So getting grounded and getting centered are two-thirds of it. The other third is called shielded. And getting shielded is a part of ourselves that allows us to, for lack of a better metaphor, is to put ourselves behind a shield, but not to hold a shield out, but for us to get behind the shield that already exists. So the shield is something you're kind of born with in the sense that it's there. I used to think of it as like in the old cartoon, the Jetsons, is when they would walk into the bubble, right? The bubble's there, you can choose to get in it or out. So being shielded, for example, from sin is not trying to put up a shield between you and sin, because it's not going to stop sin. It's always kind of around. What it says is basically, in order to shield yourself from sin, think about doing right. And when you think about doing right, you immediately put yourself behind the shield that's already there. Shielding yourself from chaos. You don't put up a shield between chaos because, man, it's always there. But in order to shield yourself from chaos, focus on your routines. If you focus on your routines, you will put yourself behind the shield, and chaos is over there, you're back over here. So these are the main three things of the basics of a good meditational program, is to calm your mind down, getting grounded, centered, and shielded. Now, I tell the students a lot of times too that there's a lot of components that can go into either helping or not helping your meditational program. It's kind of like going to sleep at night. We talk about internal and external kung fu, which basically means there's things that have to happen on the inside in concert with the things that are happening on the outside, or things just don't happen. So in going to sleep at night, there's three main things that help us sleep at night, right? And these are external components that can help us sleep. That the room is quiet, the room is cool, and what is the third? Quiet, cool, and the third one's escaping me now. Anyway, the one thing that has to happen internally is that you have to let go. So when you're trying to sleep, you have to internally let go so that you can rest. In meditational practices, they're meaning the same thing. So that if your room, like in this room, this isn't set up necessarily for me as far as my meditation, but a lot of times having the right place, whether it's outside, like I'm an outside person, so a lot of times I like to be outside in the environment, having an incense or a candle, something that symbolizes that you're getting ready to practice, those can be extremely helpful. Especially something like an incense that doesn't have too much aroma, that can actually help you connect to your practice. So in a tip of trying to help your meditational practice, try to find a time that suits you best, preferably in the early days so your day starts off upbeat, that you're doing something for yourself, and in a place that makes you feel comfortable. And this is important. There's a difference between being comfortable and being comfortably obligated. And I can tell you this because on a personal note, there was for a lot of years I had struggled with my dad. But as a son, keeping a picture up of your dad is what you're supposed to do. But even though I was having a lot of emotional hardship with some of the things that occurred in my younger days, I kept the picture up anyway, even though it caused me a lot of negative feelings. And it wasn't until later that I realized that I was keeping it up out of obligation, and it was actually preventing me from piercing through to this other place. So basically, I eventually had to take all of his pictures down and kind of free myself of this obligation, and then rework through some of my emotions and some of my feelings and interpretations of those events and circumstances to a point where I could put them at peace in myself. And now, if you walk into the Queen or any place, there's pictures of him up and around, and I'm perfectly comfortable with it. So making sure that your environment suits you and that you do things that really help you can make a huge difference in how much of an impact your practice can influence you. So let's see. We're kind of replacing, the effort here is to try to keep all these, the first one's the longest because I'm trying to lay the framework for what we're going to do. But for the most part, these are going to run anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes most days. That's what my goal is anyway. And let's get ourselves ready for our first meditation on the day one. And it's going to be Giving Thoughts Room, which was a derivative of a meditation. One I had learned from out of a Buddhist temple. And then two is a good extraction from a friend of mine named Ty Sheridan, who wrote a book, Buddha and Blue Jeans, which you can download for free. And he's given me permission to share these things freely. So I'm going to share that with you. I just want to give him, give him recognition for his work. And we're going to take it, and I put my personal flair on it, so to speak. So let's take and first get ourselves wherever you're at, whether you're standing or seated like I am today on a stool, or if you're on a fitness ball or on a cushion, doesn't matter, even on your couch. All I want you to do first is close your eyes. Get yourself upright so that you feel your spine is standing tall. And the sensation is much like if you're sitting with poise or pride. I want you to breathe in and let your lower abdomen just expand a little bit. And as you exhale, let the lower abdomen squeeze in a little bit. One of the things that will first happen when we learn to try to calm down our minds and our bodies is how much activity is actually going on in there. Just breathe steady. We want to give these thoughts plenty of room, a lot of space to move. Think of a large sky, as big as the Texas sky. so that these thoughts have the space to move, to come, and to go. And please remember that your thoughts are simply that. They're thoughts. They're not your life. We all have thoughts that some are very clear, some are somewhat opaque, kind of muddy looking. Some feel good, and some do not. But during these few minutes, let the thoughts come, let the thoughts go, and return yourself to a natural breath. That you're sitting upright, that you're still. You're in no rush. Your beliefs are also just a thought. Perhaps they're deeply ingrained, but they're still just a thought. And a good part of your meditation is to recognize that an open mind is not chained to a thought or a belief. You are allowed to question a belief, even if you're not sure where it came from. Especially the ones that spiral you into a direction that you don't want to go. Don't chain yourself to those. Give those thoughts plenty of room to come and to go. If we're not careful, our thoughts can become a jail that will seem as strong and as impermeable as the steel bars that keep us contained. Use this time to find the key, unlock the door, if you found yourself imprisoned in your own thoughts. Taking a breath. As you exhale, relax. Relax your shoulders, sit up tall. Move your fingers and your toes around a little bit and let your eyes open up. Ooh. Very nice. So giving your thoughts plenty of room, recognizing that we all can get ourselves contained in our little boxes. So if we can work in finding the time to find the doors, get the keys, unlock it, and set ourselves free, it can be a little bit scary to get out there, but it can be extraordinarily helpful. And in today, as a quick review, we said, make sure that the space is comfortable, that the lighting, incense, flowers, fish, or a candle all can help. And as I had said earlier, the 3 things for a good night's sleep externally was that the room is quiet, the room is cool, and then the room is dark. That was the 3rd one. And then the internal ingredient is letting go of our thoughts so that we can go to sleep. But when it comes to your meditation, if you can start here, we'll build on it. Tomorrow morning I'll be here at 6, and we're going to talk a little bit, review a little bit about from yesterday, or what will be yesterday, and move forward. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you in the morning.